Shalom, this is Nehemia Gordon, and I am here at Speaker's Corner in London. This is a place where anybody can come and get up on a soapbox and preach. And one of the things I love about this is this really is an embodiment of free speech. And it also takes me back to the biblical period where the prophets would stand up on a soapbox and they would preach the word of God. And I think of Isaiah 56 where the prophet says, Ko amar Yehovah, Shimru mishpat v'asu tzedakah, ki krova yeshuati lavo, v'tzidkati lihigalot. And he was standing in a corner in a public square on the side preaching the way that I'm preaching right now. We're going to go in now to Speaker's Corner and see what are some things that people are speaking about and hear the speakers and engage with them. I am here with, what is your name?
Isa, the Black Telek. There you go.
The what?
Black Telek.
Telek. What's a telek?
Intellect.
Oh, intellect.
No, black. No, I'm saying I shortened the word intellect and put black. The basic principle is there is a global perspective that black people are only good at basketball and singing and so on. But my point is we also are very intelligent.
Who has that perspective?
Well, that's another story. If you want to get into that, that's a general. If you look across the world in the media, etc., is that not the thing that's portrayed?
That's not my perspective.
As an individual. But I'm saying the general perspective. If I said to you, intelligent people, a nation of intelligent people, what would you say? Off the top of your head, the first thing that comes to mind. Come on, be honest. The first thing.
So honestly, I would think of Israel because in Israel, the universities in Israel have probably more Nobel Prizes than any other country of equivalent size in the world.
Okay.
So I would think of Israel, but I think there's intelligent people all over the world.
I agree. But
I mean, there's Neil deGrasse Tyson's a really smart guy.
Right. And it's interesting. I'm saying to you very simply, as a collective group, yes, how are black people portrayed in general? Yes?
Tell me.
You don't know? You really don't know? Do you not see that blacks are portrayed as intellectually inferior? We're supposed to be good in bed. All the animalistic thing. I'm just saying what we're portrayed as.
That is not my perception, but you know what? This could be me
just
being colorblind. I don't know.
No, I'm saying we're supposed to be good in bed, good at basketball, football, all kind of physical things that animals could do, basically. So coming from the days where...
I take exception to that. I'm from Chicago.
Yeah.
There is no animal in the world who could do what Michael Jordan did.
That's fine.
That is art, what he did.
No. My point is it's still physical. And there's things that animals...
Yeah, but Neil deGrasse Tyson can't dribble, as far as I know.
No. But that's my whole point. I'm saying the collective of... For instance, do you believe that ancient Egypt was a black civilization?
I'm not an expert on the ethnicity of the ancient Egyptians. I was recently at the museum in Berlin and saw Nefertiti, and she looked decidedly light-skinned to me.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
I've seen the same.
I don't know if that represents it.
No, that's fine.
I did find it interesting that you weren't allowed to take photos of Nefertiti. You're allowed to take photos of everything else in the museum, but not Nefertiti. I don't know why that is.
I think they've redone a lot of the stuff in the museum anyway.
I have no idea.
You're right, brother. They keep, I think they keep the originals downstairs. But anyway, because I don't know if you know, they're repainting the ones in Egypt themselves. And they're
What do you mean?
The images in Egypt.
Really? I didn't know
that. Okay, a lot of it's on YouTube.
So
but anyway,
let's get back to the basics here, because we talked before we started this, and you mentioned that you are a Shiite Muslim.
Not quite.
Not quite. A 12er Muslim.
What I said was...
You were raised a Christian.
Okay.
Give it to me.
Raised a Christian.
Yeah.
Converted to Sunniism, which I believed was Islam.
Okay.
Then converted to so-called Shia, which is the true Islam, the 12er. So that's my point. The so-called Shia.
And just for
true
the
Islam.
audience, why? Because you explained this to me. Just for the audience. And what was your name again?
Isa.
Isa, which is Jesus, right? Okay. So your name is Jesus. Okay, that's cool. And in Arabic. So why is your face covered? Who is this masked man? I think that'll be the name of the episode.
Okay. Basically, when I've been coming here for years and before the cameras came in.
And just for those who don't know, we're at Speaker's Corner.
Speaker's Corner, London, yes. I was coming here before the cameras started to arrive, and especially YouTube and stuff was showing what goes down at Speaker's Corner. And I've been so used to debating without having cameras in your face. And I found those people that were putting videos of themselves, it becomes a thing of YouTube fame. And then they start to seem to lose sight of the sincerity to whatever it is they're on, and now become some celebrity and doing stuff to get fame and views and all those kind of things. And I think it's a natural thing that when you continuously see yourself as famous and so on, I think, you know, you want to do stuff to please the audience. Whereas me, I've got a message, as I've told you. And
If I wanted to please the audience, I wouldn't be talking to you.
No, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about
No, I'm just saying that I'm going to get a lot of hate for doing this, but you had an interesting story, and I wanted to hear it.
Okay.
The idea of me doing Hebrew Voices was I had done something like 100 hours, I think, of a podcast, and I decided, you know what, the audience has heard enough of me. Now it's time to hear other Hebrew voices out there, and this is a little bit more expansive, right? You're not exactly Hebrew. You are Hebrew, even better. Now it's justified.
That's another story.
Tell me about you being Hebrew. And
I knew you'd come to that. And there is somebody that's promoting that. That's his main objective here. And he would be the better one to speak on that.
Okay, but so tell me, how did you go from being a Christian
Okay.
to a Sunniist?
Sunni, yeah. Sunni.
From a Sunni
So-called-
to
the majority is Sunni. And then I found out that the majority are actually wrong and far from Islam.
So from your understanding, true Islam is what's commonly called Shiite Islam.
Yeah, that's the truth.
So tell us in a really briefly, what is true Islam?
Okay, so true Islam basically is that the Quran, as we know it, is a book that comes from Allah to Prophet Muhammad, and that he appointed a successor, divinely appointed. So Allah told the Prophet told the people, and the Sunnis basically usurped that position.
And who is this successor?
Imam Ali, his first cousin. So his first cousin who married his daughter, Fatima, and then they had the children and the bloodline that comes from Prophet Muhammad. So there was 12 people from Imam Ali. There's another 11 that we call the 12 Imams.
Okay. And so and help me out here. I learned a little bit of Muslim history, but it's not my expertise. So the Sunnis, instead of following Ali, they followed, was it Abu Bakr?
Abu Bakr. Yeah, Abu Bakr backstabbed the Prophet. You know, I'm quite blunt. When the Prophet, peace be upon him, had died, the same day he died, he wasn't even buried yet, Abu Bakr and Umar, the supposed best friends of the Prophet, went to a place called Saqifa. And they debated with another group called the Ansar about who should be the Caliph. And they were arguing. And Umar just grabbed Abu Bakr's hand and said, you be the Caliph, basically. And then that was it. So the Prophet's over here. He isn't buried yet. But Abu Bakr, supposedly his best friend over here, is arguing about the leadership. Now, the fact that the Sunnis say, well, he was the best one for it, then why would he need to go elsewhere and argue for it? If he was the best friend of the Prophet, why wouldn't you be with him anyway? His body, do you see what I mean?
The difference between the Sunni and the Shiites, the Shia, is that you follow Ali and they follow Abu Bakr and his successors. Is that fair to say?
No. We follow Islam and the Quran. So what I'm saying is the Quran proves that the concept of divinely appointed leadership is part of Islam. The Sunnis do not say that Abu Bakr was divinely appointed. They say there was what they call a shura, or consultation. But if you read the story, there's no consultation, there's an argument.
So this is important because I think a lot of people, if they've even heard of the Shiites, they'll say, "Oh, they've heard the Sunnis are like the Catholics and the Shiites are like the Protestants," and that's not really true because you're saying that the Shiites are following what you believe to be divinely appointed leadership, versus the Sunnis, which you call the usurpers, who say that, well, the leader was appointed or he was chosen.
Abu Bakr, they say he was chosen in a shura, meaning it's supposed to be a consultation.
Of the community.
But when you read the story, he's there with, I don't know, probably no more than 50 people, right? And they're arguing. You read what they say. There's an argument. And then Umar just says, give me your hand. And that's it. And he comes back, and after Abu Bakr came into power, he started killing other Muslims who didn't agree with him.
So tell us about the plains of Karbala and that incident.
Oh, so you do know a bit, huh? I'll be honest.
I'm trying to pull this out of you so the audience can hear it. They don't want to hear from me.
I personally do not talk about the subject of Karbala because it's very, to me, I'm already emotional enough in regards to Sunnis.
So give me some practice. Well, just for the audience, because they don't know and they're not going to Google it. Give me the Cliff Notes version. I don't know what you call it in America. In English.
Basically,
very short version.
Basically what it was, after the Sunnis usurped power, you had Abu Bakr, the first usurper, Umar, the second usurper.
What was his name? Omar.
Umar. They call him Omar in English.
Yeah, Omar in English.
Yeah. Uthman.
Omar ibn al-Khattab. We have a gate named after him in Jerusalem.
Okay, there you go. Well, he was another, what we call shaitan. Yes?
Satan.
Yes, of course. He backstabbed the Prophet. How would he not be a
So
devil?
you had Abu Bakr, Umar, and who was after?
Uthman.
Uthman is the third.
Uthman is the one that put his family all over the place. And then they ended up killing him somehow, whatever.
Who's the fourth one?
Ali. So they now ran back. After there's all these problems in politics, they ran to Ali.
The same Ali?
They did. He actually refused it,
Okay.
right? But then, because they persisted, he accepted it. Yeah?
And this is the cousin of...
The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Okay. So after he was martyred, Muawiyah, during the life of Ali, Muawiyah fought against...
Who's Muawiyah?
He's a relation to Uthman. Uthman gave him like the governorship of Syria or something like that, right? So Muawiyah fought against Imam Ali. He agreed, well, Imam Ali appointed his son Hassan, who's the first grandson of the Prophet, right?
Okay, this is the... In English we say Hussein, don't we?
No, that's the other son.
Oh, the other side.
So you
the one who was
point-
killed is Hussein, right?
Yeah.
Where they
So
beat their heads
Hassan-
with the swords? Is that,
That is the situation, yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Is that wrong or...
I would say drawing blood is not the best thing to do.
Okay.
But that's what I said, it's very emotional. If you hear the story, it's very emotional.
So what's the story that's emotional?
Okay. Let me go into it as much as I can.
Here's why it's important. In Christianity, they have emotional story. God sent his son, and his son was killed, murdered
Yeah.
by people who rejected him. That's an emotional story, whether you accept it or not.
It's
and
very
Shiism
different.
has a emotional story. Let's hear that story.
Okay, let me see what I can do. Basically, you had the situation where Muawiyah, it won't take long, Muawiyah, after Imam Hassan was appointed, so that there wouldn't be any more wars and more people killed, Imam Hassan made a contract with Muawiyah. He said, listen, you can have the leadership, right? Just to rule. Not divinely, just rule. That's what you want? Take it. Okay? And all the people, majority of people want you to be the leader because they want to conquer other lands. That's what Sunniism is about, conquering and greed and so on, right? So he had a contract with Muawiyah that after him, he would give the leadership to Hussein. He didn't. When he was on his deathbed, he assigned it to it went to his son Yazid, right?
Okay, so this is
so-
a big betrayal, Yazid and Hussein.
Right, so Yazid was given the power after Muawiyah. Okay? Imam Hussein refused to give him allegiance. The people in Kufa invited him and said, come, we'll support you. He was in the middle of the desert and the people apparently betrayed him and so on. And Yazid appointed some army generals and whatever. And they basically killed 70 or more of the family and followers of the Prophet Muhammad in the most hideous way. So imagine you've got thousands of people. I mean, he held up his baby and he was showing that the baby has no water. It's
water?
No, there's no water, right?
Okay.
They shot an arrow through the baby.
And this was Yazid's people?
Yazid's people. They were Sunnis, these wicked devils. So don't be surprised about ISIS. They're just normal Sunnis. If you go on YouTube, in fact, the Mufti of Mecca, the previous one, the black one, he said ISIS and the Salafis have the same scholars, which means that ISIS is a general thing. It's just some come up and kill people and some don't. But they've got the same mentality, which will breed the same thing. Do you understand what I'm saying? But anyway,
Well, I think there's Salafis and Salafi jihadis.
Well, that's my point is, if you have 10 children, if a guy has 10 children and he's a Salafi, how many of those Salafist children are going to end up being jihadis? Do you get my point? You carry on the jihadi mentality.
So some Salafis are pacifists because they believe, that's what I've been told. I don't know if that's true.
Right, okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then other ones are jihadis.
But they're all hypocrites.
It's two
That's
polar opposites.
But they're all damn hypocrites because they all follow this usurper called Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman. That's the whole point. They follow terrorists. Abu Bakr, when he got into power, his first move was to lie on the Prophet, to steal the property of the Prophet. Lie and say the Prophet said...
Lie about the
to say that the Prophet said something he didn't. To fabricate information. Say the Prophet said something.
Is this the hadith?
Hadith, yeah.
It's all the hadith, right? Some hadith are accepted by Sunnah. Right?
Correct. But I'm saying specifically, he claims that the Prophet said, we the prophets do not have any inheritors. What we leave goes to charity.
That seems like a very convenient thing for him to say.
Well, there you go. When you take the daughter of the Prophet's property, but the question is, why wouldn't the Prophet have told her then? Because Abu Bakr wasn't due to inherit anything. You understand?
So give my audience just some, I don't know, off the top of your head, 5 things that a practical difference between what you do and Sunnis do.
Practical difference?
Yeah.
We try to tell the truth. We try to make peace. We try to I mean, practical. I mean,
No, like in ritual observance,
Oh.
maybe. But no, telling the
that's-
truth, that's important. You think that
in regards to religion, I'm not saying everyday life. it
Sunnis
might be
don't
lies.
try to tell the truth about their religion?
Oh, hell no. They do. Taqiyya is. We might do taqiyya to save our
Tell us
lives.
what taqiyya is.
Taqiyya is what you would say is if somebody's trying to kill you. So this is in the Quran. Then you can say, okay, I believe in your gods or I don't believe, so that you save your life. The Sunnis do. Shias have done that because Sunnis were trying to hunt them and kill them, wipe them off the planet. But Sunnis do it so you don't know the truth about their agenda and their religion.
Give me an example of how they lie.
So they will say that the Sahaba are the best of mankind.
Well, they'll say that who?
Oh, Sahaba means companions of the Prophet, the people that came after.
Okay.
But then they won't tell you that in their own books, it says that they catapulted the Kaaba. In the second generation after the Prophet, they had wars and they smashed the Kaaba to pieces and they were kidnapping each other and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Why don't they tell the world this?
Maybe they think that's a good thing.
Well, no, because they keep hiding it. It takes people like me to come out and tell you, or other people on YouTube are telling you.
And so those people, those Sahaba. So those Sahaba are people who that is Shia considered to be heretics, or
The majority, not all of them, because there were obviously some that supported Imam Ali, but there were so few.
so some of them turned against Ali. Or something.
The majority. It wasn't even turned against. It's just they didn't do anything and they preferred Abu Bakr because they knew behind Abu Bakr they could get the wealth of other nations. So the concept of Sunnism is to conquer and steal other people's land and property.
And that's not a principle in Shia.
Hell no, it ain't. She is more of a spiritual thing of you mind your business unless there's some real oppression.
Tell me about Iran.
Iran, I mean, I haven't been there. I know what the media says. And my position on Iran is that the country seems to be surrounded by enemies left, right, and center. So I can't really take anything that they do in a non-biased way. Like whatever they do, there's so many different problems and people trying to attack the country.
Hezbollah in Israel.
Oh, I have no idea about Hezbollah. I always hear about it. I've heard Tommy Robinson speak it, but I don't know much.
I don't know the first thing about what Tommy Robinson says, or
Oh, okay. I'll be honest, I don't know much.
I live in Israel I lived for 20 years in Israel, and Hezbollah, we had a war where they fired rockets at us. That's what I know.
Okay. I used to, when I was a Sunni specifically, talk a lot about Israel being this and this Palestinian warfare and so on. And then I spoke to an Israeli. Several Israelis and several Palestinians. And I realized that as a person who's neither, it seems to be a big problem maybe created by people outside and they're just in a mishmash. Do you get what I'm kind of like this? Like if Arafat had followed the two-state solution or something, maybe there would have been peace. But if I say that to a Palestinian, he's going to argue against me and say, well, this, and what do I say? So I've more focused on, you know what? I'm not from there. I'll focus on my community. Do you get what I'm saying? And the Afro-Caribbean community has got their own problems. So
Are you Afro-Caribbean?
Yeah.
So did you know that Israel used to have Shiite allies? Were you aware of that? That we had a area in southern Lebanon that Israel, we quote unquote occupied, but we didn't actually occupy it. We provided artillery and air support to groups on the ground that didn't want to be governed by the central government in Beirut, and some of those groups were Shiite. Some were Christian, some were Shiites.
Okay. I mean,
So people assume, it's the Jews against the Muslims. It's not that simple. There are Muslims that are on the side of Israel.
This is my whole point. Where
Even Shiites.
I've met Orthodox Jews that have told me Israel is illegitimate. It shouldn't be there. They have to wait for the Messiah to come around. And I've seen Jews argue that point. So it's kind of like me telling them anything is like a Jew coming to me and telling about Sunni and Shia. I'm saying I was a Sunni.
That's fair.
Do you get what I'm saying? So I just stay out of it and I listen.
I can't take a side in who's right, the Sunnis or the Shiites.
But I mean, it's different with that because it's on paper. If you're deciding about Sunni and Shia, you can read which one's more logical, which one's consistent. This is about land and people. Do you see what I'm saying? So the claim is more, to do with the people themselves.
And there certainly is a certain amount of outsiders who are instigating. So, for example, the United Nations has a special exemption for the definition of refugee that keeps Palestinians in a state of refugee status perpetually, even their descendants. There's no other refugee situation in the world where somebody's great-grandson is considered a refugee, and therefore, Palestinians in Lebanon aren't allowed to work.
Okay, sorry.
So give me some other examples of your daily life, how you observe your faith and your religion that's different for Shiite, for Sunnis.
I can't believe
So it's very similar, you're saying?
It's more the principle of why you do it and how you do it.
Okay.
Because we both pray 5 times a day. However, we have a habit of joining the second and the third prayer and the fourth and the fifth.
So you, in practice, have 3
periods of time. The 3 times, but 5 prayers.
Okay.
And
That's
that
interesting
is in the Sunni books as well.
That's interesting because there's Jewish prayers, for example, on Shabbat morning, where there's 2 different prayers, but they're during the same service.
Right.
So there's a point where you end the prayer, and then you immediately start the next prayer.
Right.
And they'll say we pray 3 times a day, and it's 4 on Shabbat, and that 4th one is combined with the first, or
well, even
the second and third are combined.
even the Sunnis have that, but they say that's when you're traveling or in fear. But in their own hadith, Sahih Muslim, in fear. So if you're in a rush, for fear of your life.
Okay.
So it says the Prophet was doing this, joining the prayers, and he was not in fear, and he wasn't traveling. So he was asked why, and he said he wanted to make things easier on the Ummah, on the Muslims. So we're actually following the way of the Prophet still.
So
you
were born here in London?
In England.
In England?
Yeah.
And tell me what your view as you understand a true Muslim is. Like, what is your role in the United Kingdom in England as a citizen, as...
That's interesting. What do you mean as a citizen? Explain.
I don't know. You're a citizen, right?
Yeah, I was born here, but I mean, my role, what does that mean exactly? What do you mean?
How do you view your role as to change society to make it Muslim or...
No. Muslim, no. My goal is to make people understand that Sunniism has nothing to do with Islam. Separate religion, the whole purpose of it is conquest. Slavery, thievery, everything that's bad you can associate with Sunniism. You just need to read the history of the people who they claim to follow, and they've actually rewritten the life of Mohammed here and there to justify what they're doing. So, my point is to make that clear distinction. In regards to Britain, it's not a Muslim country. So it's for the people to choose what they want. Do you get what I'm saying? And I'm not really a person that goes around trying to convert people either. Especially now you've got the internet. If you're interested, go and research it. Simple as that.
I'll explain what I mean. So, for example, the prophet Jeremiah, he has this instruction that comes, from, we believe, from the God of Israel that says, when you go into exile, pray for the place where you go and settle, build gardens, be industrious, and contribute to society because you're guests in their country. And that's the Jewish perspective. I don't know about the Shiite.
No. I mean, yes, we're supposed to be model citizens of society, but I just thought that was normal. I'm just.
I wouldn't assume it's normal. I think there's some, and correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not an expert, but I've read about some, probably Sunnis, I'm guessing, who believe that Britain is an evil country that needs to be destroyed. Right. Tell me if this is wrong. I read that there were at one point more British citizens in ISIS. Sorry, more Muslim British, and again, Muslim is presumably Sunni.
Because it's ISIS only Sunnis.
Okay, so there were more Sunnis in ISIS than there were in the British military. I don't know if that was true, but I read that.
Oh, you mean, okay.
Like about in 2015.
Right, the percentage rise. Yeah. I mean,
no. In sheer numbers.
So you're saying if there's 2,000 British Sunnis in ISIS, there's only 1,000 in the British Army?
I don't know the numbers, but
I read.
I don't know if it's true. Yeah.
I mean, it probably is true. Because you have to remember, this, as I said, the Sunni ideology is about conquest, and clearly by any means. Yeah? That would make sense. Our agenda has never been that, to conquer and go to people's lands. At the end of the day, for me, Britain is practicing a lot of Islam. Do you get what I'm saying? We have a lot of freedoms here. We have a lot of freedoms here. Yeah. It encourages the use of the intellect. It encourages science, which is all basically what Islam is about.
Would you rather live in Britain or in or in Iran or let's say Pakistan?
I appreciate it. Yeah, damn right. You damn right. I mean, I mentioned that I consider myself English not just British, English. Okay. And a white dude, we had a long conversation afterwards. Yeah. He said, English. No, you're British. I goes, no, I'm English. And growing up, you're sort of like made to feel you're British, but you're not English. So if you have to be white to be English.
Really?
Yeah, generally that's the kind of
interesting. I was raised in a very isolated Jewish community, which was ultra Orthodox. But when we were told about Thanksgiving and the Pilgrims, it was never they did it; it was we did it. Even though I didn't have a single ancestor in the United States when that happened, that's my history. I was raised from a small child that was my history.
But you're still in your memory of all the British going over there, killing the people and taking the land. Do you see what I'm saying? It's so close. It's only a couple hundred years. Whereas the British will say, well, we've been here and our ancestors have been here for over 1,000 years.
No, but my point is I don't have a drop of English blood in my body, yet the English...
No, but it's new. What I'm saying is, if the others are new to the country, then they're just as right. They have just as much right to say they're American as you.
We would talk about the forefathers, Abraham Lincoln. Well, not Abraham Lincoln, but George Washington, the founding fathers, and those are my founding fathers, not the founding fathers of some other group of people. Even though I didn't have ancestors, when you become an American, at least you become part of that history.
Okay.
And is it like that for you as an Afro-Caribbean and a Shia Muslim?
Well, the Muslim part, I don't think. Well, if they change society even more, it might be a big issue. But I'm saying, as an Afro-Caribbean, due to the racism in the 70s with the police and so on, I don't know if you know about the riots that used to take.
There was racism against Jews for over 100 years. Ulysses S. Grant passed a law expelling all the Jews from the areas occupied by the Union Army. Yet, it's still part of my history.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, well, black people were very well mistreated, very much mistreated, right?
Absolutely.
So what I'm saying is, as an Afro-Caribbean in the UK, us and the white people in Britain, in general, have fought together to remove or try and eliminate as much racism, especially anti-black racism, because it's mainly black people, from the society as we can. And we were getting somewhere until these Sunnis are trying to reverse it.
So you think it's the Sunnis who are...
the only people that walk around talking about they're going to hang a flag, an Islamic flag, who says that in Downing Street? Who says that?
I have no idea.
The Sunnis. They want to take over the country and hang a
flag. They want to hang an Islamic flag in England?
Over Downing Street. That's what they've said. So
and that's like your White House, right?
Yeah, if you want to,
No, because they don't know what Downing Street is.
It's not that. It's just when I compare the two, it's not that.
It's your seat of government.
Yes. Okay. It's the main place. Yeah.
And so the Sunnis say they want to hang an Islamic flag there?
All right, I'll be fair. Not all Sunnis, but a group of Sunnis. But my point is, they all praise the same people as their example and the interpreters of the religion.
And who's that example?
Is the Sahaba, starting with Abu Bakr, who was a usurper and a conqueror and a thief.
Let's do a lightning round here and wrap it up.
Okay.
What would you say to people who say that Mohammed was like a warlord who married a 6 or 9-year-old girl? What would you say to that criticism?
So obviously, a lot of people know that the Shias don't believe that. I
have no idea what the Shiites believe.
A lot of Shias don't believe that.
Not on that, I don't know.
Okay, a lot of Shias believe she was older, and they say the reason why they put the age down was because she was not a virgin. I personally don't subscribe to that.
Aisha was not a virgin?
That she was married before. I personally don't subscribe to that, though. My point is she was older, according to, if you just read history. Do you get what I'm saying? The reason they made her young...
So Aisha was not 9 years old, according to your understanding?
No. Even Sunnis are admitting it now. There's some Sunnis that they're looking at the history books and comparing her age to her sisters, and they're doing... It's just a hadith.
This is a side a lot of people are never going to hear, so I want to hear.
So even what we have... Because there are some Shias that take some of the Sunni history and just roll with it.
And there are Sunnis who say, hey, I'm marrying a 12-year-old. Mohammed married 9. That's fine.
Exactly.
Am I wrong that happens today?
100%.
I believe that happens in some, maybe...
and other places. Yeah, it does happen. But, I mean, my issue with that is specifically that they want to spread that kind of mentality and culture here. I can't talk about Afghanistan and these other villages. Do you get what I'm saying? I live here, and that's not conducive to this society.
FGM, female genital mutilation.
I can't see that being part of Islam at all. That's a cultural thing that was...
Okay, that's fair. What about what was some of the other issues? Yeah, about Muhammad being a warlord.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. I mean, at the end of the day, he was defending himself. He was kicked out of Mecca, right? And then he had to defend himself from people that wanted to kill him, basically, and they stole his property. So it doesn't even make sense.
So I was talking to a man here before who was a Sunni, and he told me, we got talking about the Israel-Palestinian issue, and he said, at the end of the day, we can't trust you Jews because you tried to kill the Prophet Muhammad. What is your view on Jews?
I just see Jews as another group of people. They're no different. I mean, I guess I have been in this. When I was growing up, if you picked up a penny off the floor, they used to say, "Oh, you're a Jew," right? This is primary school, so I'm 10 at the time. Shut up, man. There you go. Do you want to film him?
Maybe later. No. Let's
all right.
Come on, we don't want.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
always hecklers.
Sunni.
Okay.
Can you not film him? Please get him on camera.
No.
Go on.
Would you talk to me later?
We're talking about Jews.
Why is that showing his
We're
face?
talking about Jews.
Interview with me?
We're talking about Jews. We're talking about Jews.
Talking about Jews, brother.
Talking about Jews.
The Jews are
Excuse me.
better than you.
Yeah, okay.
The Jews are better than you.
When we
Ask him why
finish.
he don't show his
When we
face.
finish.
Why don't you show your face?
I actually
did.
Why don't you show
I
your
actually
face?
asked
Go on,
him.
then, pull your
We
face
talked-
now. Show
I
me.
actually
We talked about it.
Show me your face, bro.
You don't need to see it.
Why?
Excuse me. I'm
Why?
talking.
If you-
We're
if-
talking.
Back your words, what you talk, bro.
Excuse
Back
me.
the shit you
They
talk
won't
and
be
show
back.
your face.
Let me finish the
Show your
interview
face.
and we can walk over there.
You scumbag, man.
Yeah.
Scumbag,
In
bro.
a
You're
minute.
scumbag.
I want to
Yeah,
have
yeah.
a civil
In a minute.
conversation.
Yeah.
Because he's the Jews and the Christians, he's worse than them. Ask him why he's not showing his face.
He's worse than the Jews?
Yeah, ask him why he's not showing his
He
face.
said I'd cuss
Ask
the
him why he's
Jews.
not showing his face.
He's already answered. I told him already.
Yeah, we actually discussed this.
Yeah.
I'm happy to talk to you.
Now, what it is, I don't want to say what I have to say about him on your media.
Forget him. Come on, let's
Okay.
I want to hear you.
Oh, okay.
come on. Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying, though? These people are
There's
sick.
always hecklers here. Come on, let's not.
No, that's more than heckling. That's what I'm saying.
Come on, guys.
They're savages. Anyway, what was your about Prophet Muhammad being a warlord?
Oh, about being.
As you can see, the behavior of Abu Bakr is manifest in these Sunni pagans. This is my whole point to you. They're savages. Everywhere they go. Bloodshed, rape, murder. That's all they know. Thievery. That's all the Sunni pagan
So
dogs
are
know.
you saying a lot of the understanding of Mohammed and the life story is
Rehashed by these
is
people.
Sunnis who are projecting what they're doing back onto history?
Exactly. Wow. Why do you think?
I've never heard. Well, I
Listen
shouldn't
to
say I
this.
never heard that version. There's a historian who actually argues that, and he's not. I
Okay.
think he's a Christian, but he's writing as an
Listen to
historian.
this very important
That's
point.
really interesting. That you as a Muslim is saying this.
Listen, this is a very important point. The first person to write the biography of Prophet Muhammad was a Sunni called Ibn Ishaq. The Sunnis accused him of being a Shia. Then they got rid of his book after writing what they wanted, and they only keep Ibn Hisham.
So that's really interesting. There's a
Edited it the way they want it to be, under Ibn Hisham, but
so-
get rid of his original work.
so there's actually an historian, and I forget his name.
Ibn Hisham. Oh, sorry.
No, a modern historian who says that a lot of the biography of Muhammad were these Arab conquerors who were, and I guess Sunni, who were projecting back onto Muhammad to justify their
exactly what they
acts
do.
of conquest.
The same way they do it in the hadith, they've done it in the biography. If you look at the commentaries on the Quran, these people are their brains don't work properly, right? The Sunnis claim that Aisha is the best wife of the Prophet. Imagine the Quran tells you that Aisha is an enemy of the Prophet. How can she be the best wife if she's an enemy of Allah, the Prophet, the angels, and the righteous believers, and Gabriel? It's in the
Is that
Quran.
in the Quran?
Chapter 66, verse 4.
We'll put a link to that.
Chapter 6, it basically says, if you too turn in repentance to Allah, then he stops the condition and says, in fact, your hearts are inclined to oppose what the Prophet likes. Then it says, and if you too come out against him, then defending him is Allah, the angel Gabriel, and the righteous believers, and furthermore the angels. So how is she the best wife when the Prophet needs Allah, Gabriel, the righteous believers, and furthermore the angels to defend the Prophet from Aisha? Do you understand? And that's their best. Do you understand? It's just common sense.
Let's do some just common ground issues and see if we can
Yeah.
find it. So I, as a Jew, believe in Exodus 20, God spoke to the children of Israel and he
Right.
said, Anochi Yehovah Elohecha, I am Yehovah, in English, Jehovah, your God. Is that the same as the Allah of the Quran?
I like to use the words the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and so on, because my perspective is
Well, so when Moses asked him, "What's your name?" he said, "Yehovah Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Zeh Shmi Leolam Zeh Zechir Ledor Vador." I'm Yehovah, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. This is my name forever. This is my mention for every generation.
okay.
So is that the same as Allah?
Yes. I mean, you've got Elohim, right?
Absolutely.
And I've seen it written
It seems-
Elohim with an A. Aleph. Well, it's an Aleph, right? And you put a vowel to make it E,
It's
right?
a Chataf Segol, but whatever. Don't worry.
Well, I'm saying that Allah and
Don't worry about the vowels between Hebrew and Arabic because those switch.
no, because my point is
Like, for example, we have the Hebrew word gvul, which is border, and in Arabic it's jabal, which is mountain, and that's because the Arab tribes, the border between tribes was a mountain, right? So the vowels switch between languages. You don't have to worry.
no. But I'm saying when we're talking about
And
God,
we have lechem and you have laham, right?
No,
Which
but
is
listen to what I'm saying. When it comes to God, you've got Aleph, Lam, Lamed, and Hey.
that's correct.
Right. So
And
we
that's
have
Eloah,
Alif,
which
we
is
have Alif, Lam, and Ha. Okay. So I'm saying with these, you've basically got the same thing. Do you get me?
Well, I
But you make
understand.
it E.
So the question here's the fundamental question for me: is Allah a title or a name?
I would say both. Because
Elohim is a title. There could be the Elohim of a different religion,
yes.
and there's only
Okay.
one Ha-Elohim, the God, and Ha-Elohim is Yehovah. That's his name.
I see what you mean. Okay. So Allah is a name and a title. Definitely. Yeah. Definitely.
Allah.
Yeah.
Is that the same as the God of the Hebrew Bible?
100%.
Okay. Is the,
Well, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and so on. I can't vouch for the Hebrew Bible.
is the Torah that we have today reliable?
Obviously, I don't believe that. Otherwise, I'd follow. Assalamu alaikum, my brother. Bless you. How are you?
So you don't believe it's reliable?
No, I believe it's changed here and there.
What about the Gospels? Are those Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John? No. Are they reliable or not? Yes or no?
No, they're not.
Okay, thank you. This has been a fascinating conversation. Sorry.
You make me laugh. Thank you
Very
very
special
much.
conversation.
Take care. Peace and love.
You have been listening to Hebrew Voices with Nehemia Gordon. Thank you for supporting Nehemia's McCore Hebrew Foundation. Learn more at nehemiaswall.com.